Hey everybody, today I want to talk about an album that I consider a hidden gem. So I've made a couple of these videos talking about certain albums that I consider hidden gems. Some of the previous ones have been like Graham Nash, his album Songs for Beginners, an album by Stephen Stills called Manassas. But I really want to talk today about this band of three sisters, and they are called the Roches. And this is their debut album as the Roches. Now, this was released in 1979, and they are a very, very unique musical act. So, like I said, it's three sisters. It's Terry, Maggie, and Suzy Roche, and their last name really is Roche. And they have kind of an interesting backstory. So, the way they originally got their start is Maggie and Suzy originally caught the eye of Paul Simon, because I believe Maggie was like taking like songwriting classes at some university that Paul Simon was attending, or Paul Simon was like being a guest lecturer or something like that. And Paul Simon really saw something in Maggie and Suzy and liked them a lot, and actually had them sing backing vocals on one of his songs on his album There Goes Rhymin' Simon. And from there, he actually got them a record deal with Columbia Records, and Maggie and Suzy released an album of their own as a duo on that label, which is also a very good album, by the way. But it didn't do anything. There was like no promotion behind it, and it just kind of faded away. Then flash forward to a couple of years later, and they got their other sister involved, Terry Roche, and she joined the band, and they were now a trio, and they signed with Warner Brothers, and this record happens to be on Warner Brothers. And this record is just a quirky but beautiful, complex album. And it's the way they really got their second big break was that they appeared on Saturday Night Live, and they appeared on there actually as a favor, so I read, by Paul Simon. Paul Simon, as probably a lot of you know, Paul Simon and Lorne Michaels have been friends for a long time, and Paul Simon has worked with SNL, Saturday Night Live, a whole lot. So he had kind of a big say around there. So he told them that they should get the Roches to be on that program, and they were on there, and they sang the Hallelujah chorus, the Hallelujah, Hallelujah, and their version of that was just amazing, and it really caught a lot of people's attention. And that's what made this album become known to the general public. Now, for me, about 2 years ago, my uncle said to me, "Have you heard of this band called the Roches? I think you'd really like them." And I, of course, have never heard of them. So he gave me a little bit of the backstory as well. And then I went and got this album, and it absolutely floored me. The vocal harmonies on here are unbelievable. They do so. There are amazing vocal harmony groups like Fleetwood Mac, or like the Bee Gees, or people like that, who they do fantastic vocals. They sound really good, really full. Then there are type of vocal harmony people like Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys, or the Beatles. And I realize I'm saying these just insanely hugely influenced, legendary people. But they're those types of people who do harmonies that are so unique and so complex that they really make you stop and really pay attention to them. And the Roches are one of those musical forces as well. Their harmonies are so weird but so great at the same time. In addition to their harmonies, they just have amazing songs, really unique songs, really kind of weird, quirky songs. Kind of based in like the folk genre, but I wouldn't call them a folk band at all. They almost have like a kind of a New York punk rock vibe about them as well. It's not punk rock at all, but it's also not folk music at all. They're just really hard to describe, but it's such a great album. And the song that really stands out on this album for me is a song called the Hammond Song. Now, the Hammond Song is the second song on side one, and it is just a tour de force of amazing vocal harmonies, Great chord changes, really interesting lyrics, and just a song that will blow you away. So I encourage all of you right now, stop this video, go find the Hammond song by the Roches, and you will most likely love it. You guys all know the kind of music that I'm into. I talk about it on here all the time. So I feel like if you know what music I like, and if that music kind of lines up with your music, you will really, really love the Roches. They have other great songs on here as well. They have a song called Dear Mr. Selak, I think that's what it's called. Mr. Selak, and it's a great song, excellent chords, kind of funny lyrics. Other great songs in here is a song called The Married Man, which I think actually was one of their most famous songs because it was covered by a bunch of people later on. But it's a great song on here. Just the whole album is excellent, and I cannot tell you enough that this is a record that I think a lot of people would really love, that a lot of people don't know about. So this one, by the way, happens to be on my website right now, needlemeetsvinyl.com. This is an excellent, excellent sounding pressing of this record. It's in near mint condition. I went through about 4 or 5 of these to find this very one, and it sounds great. And it is on the Warner Brothers label. As you can see right here, it might be a little bright. But it's just a great album. And this is one of those records that, for me, I've told so many of my friends about it. My wife and I have told so many of our friends about it. And every single person we've told about it has immediately loved it. It's just like, it's a surefire thing. It's really along the lines of that Graham Nash album and that Stephen Stills album that I've talked about previously on my Hidden Gems records. It's one of those albums that when, I'll meet random people in record shops, or I'll meet someone at one of my shows or something like that, and they'll ask me, most of the time because they know I'm into records and music, and they'll say, do you have any albums that you recommend? And a lot of the times I will recommend the Roches, this album specifically, to people. And almost always, and this is just random people, by the way, almost always, if I see them again, they'll come up to me and they'll say, yeah, that album blew me away. It's great. So I encourage all of you to, even if you don't buy this very one from my website, just go online. This album is on Spotify. You can listen to it. It sounds really, really, really good on Spotify. Of course, it doesn't sound as good as if you had an original vinyl pressing of it. But if you just want to listen to it for the music and just to try to get into it and see if you want to go and find it on vinyl, listen to it on Spotify. It's also, I think, on YouTube as well. So it's all over the place. Check it out. It's their debut album, self-titled, called The Roches, and it's really, really excellent. So go check it out, and check out the write-up I did about it on my website, needlemeetsvinyl.com. And if you want to pick an easy one up on the website, it'll be on there. So that's it for now. Stay tuned. Lots of records coming this week, including some Beatles titles, including another video of a top 10 Beatles facts you maybe didn't know. This week, it's going to be the Beatles album, Beatles for Sale, which I'm sure a lot of you know is one of my favorite Beatles albums. So I'm really looking forward to putting that video together. Not sure exactly when that will be coming out, but probably in the next 3 or 4 days is what I would say. So maybe like Thursday, Friday. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for lots more records. So bye for now.